You're tuning in to Radio Movies, a special event podcast in collaboration between the Explosion Network, the Pop Cultures, and Dash Culture. Each week we'll be discussing the films from the Kevin Smith View Askew Universe, our memories with them, why we love them, and preparing ourselves for the upcoming Jay and Silent Bob reboot. My name is Dylan Blight, and joining me from the Pop Cultures, Ryan Betson.
Hey.
Hi. And from Dash Culture, Buddy Watson.
I feel like I'm Han Solo and you're Chewie, and she's Ben Kenobi, and we're in that fucked up bar.
My favorite way is the way he delivers that. The end of that, where he's like, "We're in a fucked up bar," because I'm just like, it is a fucked up bar, isn't it? When you think about it, the cantina is a fucked up bar.
All the scum and villainy of the universe.
Yes, you got fucking werewolf creatures and shit in there. You know what's going on. Today on the show, we are talking about Dogma, Kevin Smith's first but not last movie to be picketed by the church. For the sake of the show, we'll be presuming that you have watched the movie, and we will be talking with full spoilers, of course. As we start the show with every episode, let's talk about the first time everyone saw Dogma, how you felt about the Dogma the first time you watched it, and how you feel about the movie at the moment. I'm going to start off and say that the first time I watched this movie, it was, if not the weirdest thing I'd ever watched, one of the weirdest things I had ever watched up until this point. Because of course, I've said it several times by now. I was around 12 years old when I was watching when I was doing my catch up on all these movies. Every time I say it, I do wonder who was fucking renting me these. I'm like, dear God, my dad, I think, was the one who allowed this. My mum would have been like, no, get out of here. But so you come off watching Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I'm like, okay, they're comedies. I'm down for this. And then you get to some of these other things, and it's like I hit Dogma, and it's like, okay, so there's legit angels and demons and stuff. Like, this is now a full on fantasy movie, basically. I guess if you don't believe in them, if you don't believe in this stuff, it's fantasy. If you believe in this stuff, it's autobiography. I don't know, like it's a true drama or whatever. The first time I watched it, I definitely missed a lot of the nuance about what Kevin Smith is trying to say about religion and stuff. Whenever I watch it now, I think the film's actually a lot smarter than people give credit for. In fact, I think he could have gone a lot smarter with it. I think he actually got too afraid of going too hard into actually doing a full-on movie about religion, that in a lot of ways I feel like a lot of the jokes are written in to kind of help him tell the story in some ways. Like, I feel like he could have nearly wrote this as a very serious movie, a serious pilgrimage or whatever else, but then he had this opposite side to him, like, no, you got to have jokes in here or else people won't watch this, or none of this is going to make sense, it's going to be too weird or whatever else, because it's a very interesting and weird mix. I always remember there was a thing that happened early 2010s. I don't know if you remember, Ryan, my backup for Kevin Smith trivia. There was a point, I think early 2000s or early 2010s, where he was talking about doing a sequel to this.
Yes.
And how he wouldn't do it anymore because he's like, if I did a sequel to this movie now, Dogma, it would obviously have to include other religions. But in post 9/11 world, he was afraid that if he tackled Islam or whatever, that he would be under threat, his family would be under threat, and he was legit afraid to make the movie.
That sounds familiar. You know? I can't 100% verify it, but it sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, he always talks about how I definitely consider this a personal movie for Kevin Smith when it comes to religion. And I'm not a religious person, but I definitely can watch it and appreciate his take on it, I guess. Ryan, when was the first time you watched it? How do you feel about it now? How do you feel about it then?
I can remember it very specifically, actually. I think I may have been about 17. We had a friend of ours who had this beach house in a town called Inverloch in Victoria. And what they used to do is, when the video shop there kind of was just pissing off old films, they would buy a stack of them and almost have a DVD shelf. So whenever they rented it out, or whether they were the owners that were there, they'd always have movies to watch. I remember once just going through it, I'm like, okay, what's this? What's that? All right, what's this? Pulled this out. And then I saw Jay and Silent Bob on the cover. And I was like, oh, shit. Because at this point, I'd seen, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I think Mallrats at that point. I'm like, fuck yes, I'm going to watch the shit out of this. I believe I may have pilfered that, actually. Don't tell him. Because I know I pilfered that, and I think I also pilfered a triple pack that had Van Wilder in it, another movie that Ryan Reynolds was in, and Waiting. Exceptional movie, by the way. Exceptional film. Yeah, I remember watching it because although similar to yourself, I'm not religious at all, but I love the idea of religion. I love the grandiose nature of it. I love the mythology of it, just in general, and just So for that reason, with this movie hitting on a lot of those grandiose ideas, like the varying choirs of angels and all this sort of when they get sort of caught up in the dogma of it, I really enjoyed it. And to this day, I still enjoy it for that reason.
Side note, because you just said you're into about religion, but not believing in it. Do you do you watch many horror movies and stuff? Or do you not a horror movie person?
No, I'm a big scaredy pants, so I don't watch a lot of horror movies. No.
Yeah, because I always think I don't believe in.
Dude, all right, you're talking to a guy who's because I've got a science background. I'm like, all this shit is hokey. I watch 4 hours of ghost videos on YouTube, and I'm running down the hallway with lights on and shit. I'm a bit that.
Yeah, because I always find it funny. I'm like, I don't believe in any of this shit, but I fucking eat up all your conjurings and all whatever else. I'm like, they're hunting, the demons and stuff are getting them. I don't find it scary because I'm like, yes, this stuff could definitely happen. I just find it scary. So
I go the other way where it's like ghosts aren't real, but what was that? What was that? What was that noise?
But what was that noise? Yeah.
Yeah. So for the movie for that, because it did come during my late teens is sort of where I sort of got involved in the idea of questioning religion and all that sort of stuff. Even though I didn't grow up religious, it was fun to me to sort of break it down, and that's where I really started getting a sort of a fascination with it and why people follow religion, that sort of stuff. So it came at a good time, and it just sort of really sunk home, and it was awesome and silly, and I don't know, it hit me in such a way that I had a cat. I know this is going to sound racist. It's a black cat. So I named it Rufus after Chris Rock's character, Rufus. Yeah. Out of context. It's just you're a black cat. I just watched Dogma. He was black. You are Rufus.
Could be worse, I guess. Could be worse. Buddy, when was we've kind of been teased. You've previously said you wasn't a big fan of this the first time I watched it. You've rewatched it for this here podcast. Do you want to explain again how you felt the first time you watched it, why you didn't like it, and then drum roll, finally reveal how you feel about it now?
First time I watched this, I remember this vividly. Nan and Pop, we had a big hire movies every week from the video store kind of culture. So we'll be getting new releases. I was able to get as many weeklies as possible, 5-6 weeklies. And that's how I would get through a lot of films. So at the time, 99, I would have been 13, I reckon, or 14 maybe if this had come out in early 2000 for Australia. I'm not sure when the release date was.
Yeah, home release would have been late 2000 probably.
So this would have been Nan and Pop going, oh my God, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Stars.
From, Good Will Hunting. Wasn't he in Saving Private Ryan?
Alan Rickman.
Ben Affleck, he's a big star. He's from Armageddon.
Yeah,
we like both these people. They're great. And Matt Damon at that time, he's really the Mr. America, really. He's the wholesome
at
image.
This time, yeah.
At that time, not just in film, but very much so outside of film. So my nan loved Matt Damon. So we sat down and we watched it as a family. And all of a sudden, Nan and Pop, well, specifically my nan, she can't stand swearing.
Oh.
And
did you look at the fucking rating before rating this movie, or
sorry?
What? Did you look at the rating? It's MA, isn't it? 15 high level swearing.
I didn't
violence.
I didn't grab it. I'm off grabbing, fucking whatever weeklies I can get. Terminators and Lord of the Flies and obscure shit in the horror section. And Nan and Pop we got one. We got a real good one. I'm going to watch tonight.
Okay.
So went to Catholic schools all my life. Very I wouldn't say strict upbringing, but a very wholesome upbringing from Nan and Pop. And Nan just hated swearing, and she's turning it on, and all the friggin' Catholic things and all the swearing. She's like, "Oh, this is garbage. This is trash." And then she's complaining, and she turned it off. She made Pop turn it off. So that was my first experience with the movie. I'm like, okay, cool. Right, Nan just complaining through it. The next time I would have watched it would have been years past. Once again, past your Clerks 2, you're chasing.
Oh, really? After Clerks 2 and everything. So like post 2005.
I reckon, yeah, definitely. And I would have watched it, and that would have been my impression of it was, yeah, cool. I'm not really into all the religious stuff because I went to Catholic schools all my life up until kind of high school. I hated going to church every Thursday. You know, I did everything, Holy Communion, all that stuff, whatever the 4 things are, reconciliation, all that crap. And to the point where it beat into me. So I hate anything religion, and by now I'm an atheist. And Nan and Pop just really... Well, Pop doesn't care. Pop doesn't give a fuck. But Nan like hates the idea when I say it. She's like, "No, you're a Roman Catholic, blah, 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 all this stuff." I'm like, you know, calm down, okay? I believe in aliens and ghosts and all the paranormal shit, but God's not real. Get away from me. So anytime there are any movies like that with those kind of themes, instantly it's like, I don't really... this isn't jiving for me. And all the supernatural elements I just don't care for. And I'm looking over Kevin Smith's kind of discography, funny. Looking at that and looking at all the movies of his that I really like the ones that are grounded and relatable. That's why Chasing Amy is up there as one of my favorites. Mallrats is all the pop culture references and I guess the funny stuff that you can relate to, and Clerks is, you know, I've worked in retail and that kind of stuff that's identifiable. When it starts getting to like yoga houses, supernatural crap, and all this angels and demons and all this stuff in here, don't get me wrong, I love Bible stories and I love that kind of lore and reading about it. I think the Bible has some of the best stories in it. It's just when it's displayed in this I just can't get around it. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't think the movie's bad. I just don't think it's great or good. It's just okay.
Do you think that is your personal bias towards religion?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it was just like the poo monster that's in it and whatever. It's just like that kind of humor. Yeah,
that's not humor. That's a legit thing.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, well, there you go.
Totally real.
That's based in something.
Yeah, well, I fucking hate that. So, you know, I saw Constantine whenever that came out in the films. Cinemas.
That was around
5 as well.
Yeah, around 2005. I think.
Yeah, so everyone got hard for Constantine, and I saw that cinemas. Like, yeah, cool, more angels and demon stuff. It just didn't click with me. So, I have a hard time with this kind of subject matter clicking for me, as well as other like fantasy and mythical stuff, like like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that kind of stuff. So.
I find it interesting. When you watch this movie, do you view it as like someone who's taking the shit? Do you think he's taking the shit of religion, or do you view it as like a serious, like semi-serious? Like, how do you view the religion standpoint in this movie?
I don't think like. I think that's what my nan got so offended. I'm like, he's taking the piss out of blah blah blah. I'm like, years later, like when I actually get to watch it myself, I didn't really see it as that. Like maybe his little, it's his understanding of religion and kind of how he explains it in this really fucked up kind of way. So
religion is fucked up if you think about it. So.
Absolutely. In my mind, I just think that, you know, there's one kind of religion thing that happened, and all these other religions are just the different Chinese whispers stories of the one thing that's happened, and that's why there's so many similarities in so many other religions. But hey, we're not that kind of podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to take it really.
Yeah. Well, we tripped onto this. I was going to say, well, might as well continue it now. Ryan.
Yes.
How do you view this movie's religion? Like, how do you take it? What do you think the whole point is? Is it taking the shit? It's not taking the shit. What's he trying to say? What's Kevin trying to say of the religion stuff in this movie?
I think he's just processing religion himself, and I think whether that be the shitty parts of it and the grandier parts of it, I think that's what it is. I think it's just him, because my understanding, because he doesn't write like a scene here and a scene there, as in like, oh, I'll write this scene and then I'll start write the start of the movie and then I'll come back and I'll write scene 18. Like he literally writes front to back.
Yeah.
So I think for him, this is him just processing the religion, because he talks about growing up in a Catholic family and quite a heavy Catholic. He was an altar boy for a period of time, and I think one of the things he talked about, there was a period where he was actually contemplating going to work within the church when he was growing up.
I think he was going to do, wasn't it like if the movie thing failed, that was like going to be a backup plan or something like crazy?
So like I think it's that thing, it's similar to, as I mentioned, like when I had my moment of, like, even though I wasn't religious, it was just my questioning of religion moment, and I think his is that, and how he interpreted that was just going through this movie and pulling the things that don't make sense, grabbing the things that are cool, and just sort of telling this overarching story about his interpretation of religion, I guess.
It's because I find it, every time I watch this movie, I find it so hard to believe that anyone who's stuck with this movie would view it as having a really truly negative viewpoint on Catholicism or religion in general.
If anything, because they give a shit of time to the platypus.
yeah, this is true. This is very, very true.
I love the warning before the start of the movie as well, the little fucking disclaimer.
Yeah, it's so funny because even then it's like, if they release this movie today, they'll definitely have to have that disclaimer, because I feel like if this movie released today, it'd probably fucking blow up as much as it did, if not worse, obviously, with Twitter and stuff to now like kind of spread. This movie's like trying to say religion sucks or whatever else, but yeah, it starts with the whole thing. It's like, please don't hate the movie. No, please just watch the movie. Please just don't hate the movie and watch the movie. But yeah, by the time you reach the end of the movie, it's like, you got fucking God here. You got God doing good shit or whatever. You know, it's like, God is real, God's a woman, God helps out, blah, 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 blah. Happy day, sunny. I'm like, I don't know how you reach the end of this movie and not be like, it has a positive outlook on religion or whatever. A really negative one. I think everyone, I guess, kind of like Buddy's saying about his Nen there. It's like the movie starts and it seems like it's, because of the way it's like starts and you got these angels that's like walking around talking shit to this nun or whatever. It's like it's kind of automatically just have a spewing negative reaction, I guess, if you're religious or something, because you're like, this is outrageous, how can this work? But if you ever sit through to the end, I'm like, this movie is not negative on religion at all. If anything, it's positive while saying, nitpicking at smallish things. And like the most grandiose I think that goes is like to point out the whole Moobies thing, which, by the way, this is the first movie that introduces Moobies, which is important for this podcast considering it's called Radio Movies. Because it like that whole scene where what are their characters? What's Ben Affleck's and Loki
and
Bartleby,
Bartleby, thank you. Loki and Bartleby, when they go to the Moobies thing and do the whole, well, they're, you know, praying to a false god or whatever, the 10 Commandments or whatever it is, and that's why they all go there and basically go off at those dudes in the first place. But then it's like, you could extend that idea so much higher, I think, like, because these days basically everyone prays to a fucking false god, really. I guarantee if you go around and check on every single person who's like Christian or Catholic or whatever else, but like, what do? You know, like how often are you on your phone? It's like, technically, you know what I mean? Like the second you start checking up on people, it's like, how often you go to McDonald's? 10 times a week? All right, cool. So is like Mickey D's a god? You know, you're not allowed to have this sort of stuff. I always felt like that scene had like, it's downplay, but I feel like it was Kevin having something bigger to say about consumerism, I guess, within the day and age. But that's like the problem. My problem with this movie is that I think he could have had something a lot braver and better written if he tried, and I think he got afraid to go the full mile, and that's why I think you end up with this weird mix of lots of interesting ideas that if you kind of peer into them and look into them, you're like, there's stuff here, there is substance here if you look past this stuff. But no, I honestly feel like he got afraid of it and had to add in like lots more jokes and funny characters and Jane, Silent Bob have to be here for the entire movie, so we have like constant comedic jokes happening in the back and forth to kind of give leeway to this, because I honestly feel like he got scared of his own movie somewhat, as weird as that may sound. It's like, can you be afraid of your own thing if you're the one writing it? I mean, yeah, I guess you could be. That's how I feel it went. All right, so let's go over those. So, what is everyone's favorite scene from Dogma? And Buddy, even though you're saying you're not hottest off the cake, tell me that you at least have a scene that you that stands out.
Yeah, it's definitely the movies, the boardroom thing, and going through everyone's kind of sins, and also running down like the corporation and kind of comparing it, like you were saying before, the kind of the take on consumerism and capitalism. It's the movie's Fight Club moment, is what I kind of like feel. Like we're all we talk about being like slaves to religion and slaves to God. Well, no, we're actually slaves to this, whether you like it or not, whether you think there's a God or any other kind of religion. What just praying or going to church once a week, that just excuses all the other stuff.
You are responsible for raising an icon which draws worship from the Lord. You have broken the first commandment. More than that, I'm afraid not a one of you passes for a decent human being. Your continued existence is a mockery of morality. So
I loved that scene, and I loved it. There was the woman in the scene that had done nothing wrong as well. Yeah. And it just kind of showed that, despite Affleck and Matt Damon's characters and how, kind of violent they were, specifically how that kind of steps up a notch towards the end, they still kind of had some kind of code that they abided by.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie, it's like, we can't, Ben Affleck's, he goes off the rails then because it's like, you can't kill anyone unless they've got actual thing. There's like, they have that whole bus scene where they're like tapping the guy.
Yeah.
Like, you married? Yeah. Tap. You married to her? No. Cool, I can kill you. Like,
and, poor Affleck's like face, like, oh,
yeah. He's like, okay then.
He was right.
Like, yeah, he was right.
Humanity.
Ryan, what's your favorite scene from this one?
I have a couple favorite scenes, especially memorable lines. Like, I'm a big fan of Chris Rock with Jesus. Like, know him? He owes me $12. Big fan.
Oh yeah, love that.
Yeah, like $12 is just an arbitrary number. I love it. It's up because it's a similar thing. Like, there's a lot of cool moments. Like, I do love the opening sort of monologue around the airport and how it's that situation of that moment of just genuine, like the little moments of truth within the film is really very cool.
Organized religion destroys who we are by inhibiting our actions, by inhibiting our decisions, out of fear of some intangible parent figure who shakes a finger at us from thousands of years ago and says do it and I'll fucking spank you.
At the end, when Jay, they clamp on his head, and then when they release and he's got, God's in front of him, he's like, why the fuck did you hug my head? Who the hell are you? What happened to that guy's head? Like, I love that scene endlessly. And then it's just like when God's there, just touches him and he just stops.
Yeah. It's funny. Who the fuck's this bitch? Who are you? What are you doing here?
What happened to that guy's head? Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny.
It took me a couple times to get. I remember when I first realized when he asked what happened to that guy's head. Like, it took me probably like 6 watches before I clicked that because it's just so rapid, and I fell off of the couch. I don't know why. It just tickled me in such a way.
I find it, side note on all that is, I'll say for this one, Jason Mewes is actually pretty good in this, and it's funny considering this is apparently the one he was on the most drugs for out of his whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of it came from the pressure of Alan Rickman. I think because Kevin's like, you've got Alan Rickman here. This is like a legit real-time actor. And he's like, wait, really? And then he went, he went and learned the script front to back. As in, he could do his dialogue, he could do everyone else's dialogue because of the pressure of Alan Rickman, like, kind of what forced him to stay in line.
Alan Rickman's a big dude. Talking about Alan Rickman, I'll say my favorite scene in the movie is just his entrance.
Oh, sweet Jesus, do you have to use the whole can?
Who the fuck are you and what the fuck are you doing in my room?
I'm the one that soaks and she's the one that's surly. That's rich. Stop fucking crying.
Get the fuck out of here! Now!
Or you do what exactly? Hit me with that fish.
I have a soft spot. Like, I love Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. He is absolutely fantastic in every movie he's in. But I also think this is the first time I saw him do something that was actually comedic. Because prior to this, I had seen Harry Potter and Die Hard, I guess, like around the age I was watching. It's like Harry Potter, Die Hard. That's my range there. And I actually think he's so good the way he comes in, he's doing like the very serious, like, I am the Metrodon, and then when the fire extinguisher comes in,
I am the Metatron, I'm the voice of the one true God.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my coat, all this, like the way he just like starts going off like that. And it's definitely something about his voice as well, like, or his tone or whatever, because he's got that very British like tone or whatever about him, and just the way he's saying everything comes off like so posh or whatever else. And I just loved every scene he's in a bit. The way he like, it's so funny too, because like, he pulls down his pants. He's like, I've got no dick and all this sort of stuff. I remember the first time watching, I was like, Alan Rickman's doing like, I've got no dick jokes. Like, what world are we living in here? This is what that we're doing here. But yeah, I if I was being not picking just one scene, I would say my favorite thing about this movie is just Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman is my favorite person in this movie. Side note,
the impressive wingspan.
Which one? That was another random. Apparently another random trivia bit for this was that the reason they asked him to be in this movie is because either Smith or someone, I don't know, but someone heard that Alan Rickman liked chasing Amy. So then they were like, okay, cool. So we might as well try and contact him for a role in this movie. And they contacted him and sent Alan Rickman the script. And apparently Alan Rickman was like, cool, that sounds great. I'm in. Are the wings real or fake? That was like his comeback. He just wanted to know if the wings were real or fake and if he would actually get to wear them or not.
To add to the fun fact that apparently it really fucked his back up. So because they were incredibly heavy. So what they actually did, so they had the wingspan, and it was held together by a set of like 6 ropes that went through the wall
and
behind.
Kevin Smith was pulling them.
They literally have to
well,
crank that shit, and because it was the weight of it actually kind of fucked his back.
Yeah, I forgot about that because it's in the credits. Kevin Smith credits himself as a
string puller,
puppeteer or whatever it was, as like Kevin P. Smith, like operating the wings or whatever it was. Yeah, okay. So another thing I just thought of as I was saying all this, I do want to bring up. I think that out of all of Kevin Smith's movies, this is one where there's a major lead role miscast.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is of the lead.
Or Bethany.
Yeah,
I think
thank God.
Yeah.
I think if Bethany, I was trying to double check her name, Linda Fiorentino. Yeah,
she's a charisma black hole, dude.
That's a very good way to put it. I think she's okay, but like it's okay is not good enough for this. And I actually feel like if you had someone else there, as you're saying, who actually had charisma and could like bring something to this movie, I actually think this movie potentially could have done a lot better and would be a lot more well regarded these days if you had someone else be a part of it. Apparently, they were originally going to have what the fuck from Chasing Amy.
Jory Lauren Adams again.
Yeah, apparently she was going to do it. Well, apparently Kevin Smith wanted her to do it, but then they break up. RL. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to cast my ex in the lead role of the movie or whatever. So then it ends up going to her. And yeah, like rewatching it, I'm just like trying to imagine. I kept trying to imagine if that had gone to nearly anyone else. And I feel like the movie would be a lot better. And I'm not trying to be
Doherty wanted it as well, so fuck.
And she would have been a lot better, yeah.
But they could have just given it to Doreen Garofalo, like the other chick that like fuck it, why not?
Is that who is that? Doreen
Garofalo. It's the other woman they're talking when they're working at the clinic.
Yep.
Okay, I was about to say because I was trying to find a name here. So this is Alanis Morissetti, right?
Morissette.
He plays
Alanis Morissette.
She plays God.
Your inability to say Alanis Morissette baffles me right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Apparently
you ought to know, Dylan.
Oh!
Apparently she was up for the role and couldn't do it because of scheduling conflicts or whatever.
Well, I think Jagged Little Pill came out around about then anyway.
Yeah, it was just, Jagged Little Pill was 95.
This was 96. Should have been touring.
95.
Yeah.
96. The movie was 99.
Oh, wait, what? Yeah. Fuck off, really? Way later.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
No, but what you do, you release the album, then you go on the tour.
Yeah.
So, but imagine a world where she actually took the role of Bethany, you know?
That would have been weird. Like,
do you reckon it would be weird?
Yeah, absolutely. What has Alanis Morissette done as an actress?
What the fuck has this other person, done since? or done before?
I agree, but like I don't think I think you're replacing, a like for like. Really, you need someone with some actual credentials there.
I don't know. Kevin Smith works with people without credentials. That's kind of his MO. So, and other people have proven to be quite good. But yeah, I can't get every time I watch it, I'm just like, if someone else was in this role.
Yeah.
And it's not that I think she's terrible. And like, if she magically listens to us, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say you're a terrible actress. I just think for this role, it really needed someone. As Buddy said, charisma is the word, because she just doesn't sell it to me. She doesn't sell me. She doesn't hit the comedy stuff well enough. She doesn't hit the, like, by the end of this movie, I don't even buy into her whole story of like suddenly becoming a fucking prophet, basically, or however you want to word it. Like, last Scion, thank you. I just feel like anyone else nearly.
The problem that I have with her, the movie starts with her being like the smuggest fucking person in the world, and that's a character trait that I can't stand personally. So like on top of it, she starts being super condescending to people, anyone that talks to her, and like just Jay and Silent Bob, and like as the movie progresses, like she sort of loses a lot of that smugness. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Anyone else could have done a fucking way better job.
Apart from Jay and Silent Bob, their own movie, obviously this is the one they have the most screen time in it. And honestly, rewatching it again for this, I feel like the movie potentially could have been a lot better if they had have actually been in it a lot less. I think Jay's, and this kind of comes back to my feelings about Kevin Smith being afraid of his own movie here a little bit and forcing them to be along it. But I often felt like a lot of scenes where they're trying to like semi-talk about serious stuff, even if Chris Rock's character shows up and he drops a joke, but he's still talking about serious-ish stuff with a mild joke here or there. The second you have Jay in the background goofing off and like, Silent Bob hitting him and stuff like that, I feel like there's way too much of them in the movie. Yeah. Like, do you agree then, buddy?
Yeah, I agree. What do you reckon? This guy was just thrown out of this airplane with a message on him, like in Con Air? Oh, fuck that movie. It's like, cool. That's a line that belongs in Mallrats, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
like some of the lines, when you take them out of context, you're like, that's a funny line. But when you think about it within the movie, it's like
what? Like like big hot titted women falling out of the sky.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
The whole movie is for me a tonal mismatch when it comes to that. Like, now we're getting into this serious biblical discussions and explaining these characters and making these references, and then like you're saying, Jay comes in with the stuff, and then you compile that with a lead character that is just not likable. Yes. And it's, for me, it's like all these little parts, it feels like it's a compilation video for me. And same with the ensemble cast. You got Salma Hayek in there, even Alanis Morissette at the end, and you've got all these little cameos. I'm like, did we need to have a star here or a star there? It just feels like, for me, it just feels bloated.
Mm-hmm. I think they have a place in the film. I think if they weren't in, then the movie would be incredibly preachy. And I think that was the concern. I think it's a valid concern to have them in there for that reason. I do agree. I think it does show a lack of confidence from him to want to tell that big, grand story. Like, we'll see that later with Red State, when he genuinely has something to say about religion that's affecting religion without Jay and Silent Bob. But I think they hold a place in this movie, and maybe it could be slightly less, sure, but I think it kind of adds to their characters, because like they were only there because they were looking from the town from the Breakfast Club or whatever it was, and I like that's just they're like, we just fell into this situation, and then they continue to fall into situations as the movie progresses, and that sort of adds to these larger than life characters. And I think that them being larger than life characters actually fits within the. They're almost like that middle ground. You've got the likes of Bethany, who's never seen any of this high end shit before, and then you've got Jay and Silent Bob, who are known to do grandiose things, and then the big fuck off things. If it was just her and then religious shit, it kind of, there's something lost there.
Well, I feel like once Chris Rock shows up, you don't need them. because I feel like Chris Rock is able to
It's true.
add enough levity to scenes by popping in a couple of jokes here and there, while still being able to carry the movie forward, especially as a big part of that because he's like the 13th
13th Apostle, yeah.
the 13th apostle, which is a funny joke. Of course, they leave the black man out. Yeah, so I'm like, in my mind, yeah, they could have shown up at the start, saved her, had the whole restaurant scene or whatever, and then by the time Chris Rock shows up, and maybe they go as far as Mooby's, but then once they get to Mooby's, they get Chris Rock some clothes. Maybe they're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just going to stay here and sell some drugs or whatever they do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, to me, they didn't need to be in it from that point on, because I understand what you're saying, and I kind of agree to a point. It's like, you need something. But I'm like, once Chris Rock is there dropping his jokes and whatever else between stuff, I'm like, they kind of overlap each other a little bit too much, you know?
Yeah,
So-
but yeah, so we should know. I should mention that as well. Like the ad-libbing of Chris Rock in this is great because like Kevin's known to be very on script. So to have, like, I guarantee you, like he didn't write everything that Chris Rock said.
He definitely didn't write that $12.
Yeah, because like
that guy owes me
the
$12.
N-words dropped, and I guarantee you, unlike Tarantino, Kevin would not have written that down.
No, yeah, he would be too afraid
Yeah.
to.
Understandably, because I fucking wouldn't write it in something.
No, I've always that's a whole topic. I've often wondered like if I could actually,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think there's anything wrong per se. If you're a writer, you're a writer.
Yeah.
But could I do it? Probably.
I know.
Not,
Side
no.
note, nothing makes me more uncomfortable when I watch Pulp Fiction and Tarantino says dead N-word storage. That seems just so out of place and doesn't fit. Just like Jane Silent Bob, apparently. And I brought it back. Yeah.
Get off of me! I want to see what's up! What the fuck is this shit? Who the fuck are you, lady? Why the fuck did you hug my hand?
Quite a little mouth on him, isn't there?
I know. So you said Salma Hayek before. Did want to touch on her because I remember that was another thing I know. The first time I've watched this movie, I already knew who Salma Hayek was for some reason. I wouldn't know what from though.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like because I watched a lot of adult movies as a young kid. But
Entrapment.
Yeah, I hadn't watched Entrapment. I'd watched From Dusk Till Dawn though. So she shows up in this. Do you think she again was like used well, miscast, just kind of because like her biggest scene is, or the pole dance strip scene, whatever you want to call it. I don't the dance scene, I guess. Like there's that, and then her other big scene, I guess, is running around trying to fight off the angels at the end. You know, like do you feel like she was used well, necessary, or was like just another nail in the coffin of?
I think she was. She has a charm to her that I think fits Serendipity, and like the idea of her being a muse. I do like that a lot. I think she fits there, but the actual context of the scene itself, maybe not so much.
Yeah, because I find that dance scene completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Especially at this time watching. I'm like, this scene goes for so fucking long. Like the back forth between.
Also saying
Those-
that, Hooper X was one of the guys in the rival gang when they're doing.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely didn't even see that. Yeah, but I felt that scene go for too long. But I'll say one thing. I had that song stuck in my head for the last couple of days. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I'm like, okay, maybe it works some wonders for me. Yeah. How do you feel about her and this buddy?
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
And
Just another.
to be Selma Hayek as the cast does it, it's just like really, it's like Jane Silent Bob there as well. It's like it's taking away from the main character.
Yeah.
And it's just more visible that there's something missing from that that I'm not getting because of all the other characters around her. She gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, but I think her character has an interesting place in the world because she sets up the idea that these religious beings or entities are scattered throughout, and so, you know, the idea that a muse is a stripper. It's just this idea. It had such a, because that's not what you think a representative of a higher power would be hanging out.
I just feel like
So that part of it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like Bethany just doesn't get a scene. She's the main actress or the lead, and she doesn't get a moment.
Yeah, it's
the
like
biggest
if you ask like what's your favorite Bethany scene, it's like
She hung out in the water that time.
She gets overshadowed. Now, I always draw a comparison to like Christian Bale in like the Batman trilogy. In Batman Begins, I think he gets overshadowed by Liam Neeson. In Dark Knight, it's Heath Ledger and friggin' Aaron Eckhart, and only in The Dark Knight Rises does Christian Bale get his moment with Alfred. But it works. Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter that in that context, because sometimes the villains are more interesting in that context. Where here, it's like they're burying the lead character that I'm supposed to be. Like, who is the lead?
But that could have been done in the edit as well. You know, when they look back on it, like, wow, she kind of sucks ass.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the true story. Maybe she got a heap of
But
scenes
no, like
cut,
I totally understand where you're coming from. The idea of like who is the lead character, because that's one of the biggest problems of Star Wars Episode 1 is like, who the fuck's the main character of this movie?
Jar Jar Binks. Come on, get it through. Get it together.
He's the only one that's consistent through the whole movie. But even then,
with
he
friggin'
isn't.
Born Legacy,
Yeah.
they never ever trust friggin' Hawkeye, old Renner, to carry the movie. They cut so many scenes and don't even give him a scene, and there's all this friggin' Matt Damon talk in the background. It's like same thing here. It's one thing that really annoys me in movies, actually.
Saying that though, on a positive note about this film, to this day, I still love that little like blazer hoodie look, and I would rock that every day if I could.
I actually think that's this movie, like the design there, having all the angels have the same the blazer hoodie thing, but they've all got different ones to like kind of represent their own angel halos or whatever it was. That's like really smart from a costume design point, I guess, or production design point. Whoever made that decision, Kevin or costumes or whoever it was. Yeah, I thought that was really good. Another thing quickly to say for this is I actually like this movie's special effects, especially for its time. It's got a style, it sticks to it, and I kind of appreciate that. Like, you can be like, oh, the poo monster looks terrible. Some of the wings getting shot off kind of looks like fake-ish or whatever you want to say about it. But I appreciate that it has this stylized thing going for it, and it 100% commits to it. And even rewatching it, I'm like, I kind of like this. I kind of like that it doesn't try and be super like. It's not CGI. Most of it's like this practical shit they're doing, and I kind of like it. Yeah, especially because it's Kevin Smith's most special effects heavy movie. Yeah. The other bit of trivia, definitely to touch on for this one of note, is that Kevin Smith, the church or Catholic church, or a Catholic church or a couple or whatever it was, were picketing this movie before its release. And he was having this whole back and forth about it with whatever people. And there's this news story, which I'll put in and you can find on YouTube, where Kevin Smith walks up, and it's fucking hilarious to this day, even rewatching it. Kevin Smith walks up to these people picketing the movie, and he just kind of shows up with a sign and starts picketing his own movie, which is like classic Kevin Smith shit that you just have done. He shows up there with Brian Johnson. They're picketing his movie. He gets on TV news for whatever town it was where they he gets on, it's like, hey man, why you pick it? He's like, I just don't think they should be making a movie. Like, he's talking shit on his own movie.
Yeah, so good.
They're like asking him who he is, and he says he's Brian Johnson or whatever. Like, he gives like a fake name and all this sort of shit. I think it's so funny. Yeah, but I do want to quickly note here, because this is like this movie is the start of Kevin's like weird relationship with different churches and stuff. Because of course, how many years between this and Red State? I don't know, like 15 or something probably. But, by the time we get around the Red State, once again, his movies are getting picketed and something and all this sort of stuff. It's like he has for someone who constantly says that he is religious to a point, he's like, I'm Catholic. I do believe in this stuff and whatever else. I'd find it so interesting how much trouble and shit he's got in with different churches and stuff like that. And I love the fact he's able to just poke fun at them. And I think that's one of the things is like, maybe before this, because obviously Kevin Smith isn't doing podcasts at this stage, but you see him on TV poking fun at himself and this sort of thing. It's like, this is kind of the start of Kevin Smith's, to me, this is like the start of Kevin Smith as the person I know him to be, this kind of person who would show up and pretend to pick at his own movie. Like that's kind of what I know him as. But we didn't have the podcast back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what a perfect way to show that you think religion might be a joke by having like George fucking Carlin as a cardinal. Like, come on.
Well, yeah, that's a complete, George Carlin as a cardinal is the ultimate sin because the ultimate sin. Yeah. Did before wrapping up, did you? Because I put it in the show note. Did you watch that Kevin Smith thing or have any thoughts on it? Because I just think it's one of the funniest bits of.
I've seen it like forever ago, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like no other directors would. Well, I mean, maybe some others, but
not at the time.
Definitely not at the time. I just think it's like a standout point for like him as a person being able to have fun at his own sort of expense, I guess. And this isn't his first movie either. You know, this is like one he needs to make money to continue making movies. You know, like he needs this to make money so he doesn't get in trouble at Miramax or whatever else. But he's like out there, don't watch this. Like. gets on fucking TV. Yeah, no, I wouldn't watch this movie. It's like, is it the director? I don't know. Yeah. That is it for this week's episode of Radio Movies. Please be sure to take any trash review when leaving your area. You can find Buddy Watson over at dashgamer.com or on the Dash Culture podcast every fortnight, talking pop culture, movies, and gaming. And be sure to follow him on Twitter at BuddyWatson12. You can find Ryan Betson over at youtube.com/thepopculturist, talking all things PlayStation on For the Players and wrestling on the Young and the Wrestlers. And you can follow him on Twitter at HaggardMC. And you can find myself right here on ExplosionNetwork.com on one of our many movies, games, or TV podcasts like Arcade Couch or What Do You Want to Watch. And you can follow me on Twitter at VivaLadil, VIVALADIL. Please be sure to review this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening if you can review stuff on it, or tweet at Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes and tell them we rock, and to send us a copy of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot so we can watch it for this highly educational, informative, necessary 2019 podcast, award-winning, let's presume, in the future. Production.
Yeah, this is a pod that'll be studied in the years from now.
I like to believe. We'll see you next week. Snoochie boochies.
I repeat, this is not a drill. This is the apocalypse. Please exit the hospital in an orderly fashion. Thank you.